The press room was overflowing. Too many bodies, too many eyes. Cameras lined the walls like sentinels, flashes waiting to explode. Reporters stood shoulder to shoulder, microphones raised like spears aimed for the truth. The Outlander 2026 press conference had begun lightheartedly, filled with nostalgia and laughter as Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe reminisced about their final season together. But beneath the warmth, everyone knew the real question. It had lingered for years, unspoken, unshakable. Was the chemistry between them ever more than acting? When it finally came, it was as if the air itself stopped moving. A journalist in the second row lifted his voice above the crowd. Sam, after more than a decade working alongside Caitriona, fans still believe there's something more between you two, something real. Is there? Silence fell like a curtain. The clicks of cameras ceased. Every gaze fixed on him. Sam shifted slightly, hands clasped. For a heartbeat, he stared down at the table, then across to Caitriona. Her eyes met his, steady, searching, almost pleading for something unspoken. They'd done hundreds of interviews together, but this one felt different. What he said now would echo far beyond this room. He took a breath, and then came the sentence that broke a million hearts. It's impossible. A murmur swept the crowd. He could have deflected, joked, smiled like always. But his voice was calm, low, far too sincere to be performance. I understand why people ask, he continued softly. Caitriona and I share something incredibly special. We've built a bond over the years that means everything to me. But it's not what people think it is. What we have is friendship, deep, loyal, and rare. But that's all. Caitriona didn't flinch, but something flickered in her face, a split-second shift her smile couldn't hide. The cameras caught it, the flash of pain before she blinked it away. The journalist pressed on, sensing the crack in the air. So there's no truth at all to the rumors that. Sam cut in gently. There's truth in the connection. Of course. But love stories belong to Jamie and Claire. In real life, it's different. He smiled then, but it was tired, heavy. It's not that I don't want it. It's that I know it can't happen. Uneasy laughter rippled through the room as reporters scribbled furiously. Caitriona let out a polite chuckle too, trying to lift the moment, but her eyes were distant. Within hours, the clip went viral. It's impossible. Sam Heughan ends Caitriona romance rumors for good. The headlines were merciless. Online, fans split into camps. Some defended him. He's just being honest. Others felt betrayed. He looked at her like that for 10 years and now he says it's impossible. One post read, "You can't fake that kind of love for a decade." But beneath the noise, behind the filters and hashtags, something quieter unfolded. Those close to the production said Caitriona had left the room without a word. She smiled for photos, waved to fans, then slipped away before the interviews ended. Sam stayed behind, answering a few more questions, his voice growing distant with each one. When it was over, he lingered backstage, staring at the empty chairs. A makeup artist nearby later recalled, he looked shattered, like someone who just said something he never wanted to say, because the truth was he didn't want to say it. He'd known the question was coming before the journalist even opened his mouth. He'd already made the choice. If he stayed silent, the rumors would keep growing. If he laughed it off, Caitriona would keep getting cornered by tabloids. The only way to protect her, protect them, was to end it. Cleanly, publicly, permanently. It's impossible. 2 words that sounded cruel on camera, but in his mind, they were mercy. That night, alone in his hotel room, Sam scrolled through headlines he wished didn't exist. Every article twisted his words into something colder. He shut his laptop and stared out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Caitriona was probably doing the same, pretending to be fine. On the nightstand sat a faded photo from their first season, the two of them laughing between takes, carefree, untouched by fame. He picked it up, smiled faintly, and whispered, "It was never impossible. It was just never ours." Outside, paparazzi flashes painted the window, but Sam didn't move to close the curtains. He let the light spill in, soft, relentless, like the truth itself, impossible to escape, harder to explain. The world thought he had rejected her. What they didn't know was that his words had been born from the very thing he'd been accused of denying. Love. In the days that followed, silence weighed heavier than any headline. The moment Sam Heughan said, "It's impossible," became one of those clips that refused to die, replayed, dissected, slowed frame by frame. Commentators called it cold. Fans called it heartbreaking. Those who knew him said only, he didn't mean it the way it sounded. But the damage was done. By morning, the internet had turned into a war zone. #It's impossible trended worldwide. Tabloids splashed photos of Caitriona leaving alone, coat pulled tight, head bowed. The loneliest walk in Hollywood, one paper called it. Behind the noise, Sam vanished. He cancelled interviews, skipped appearances, and quietly returned to Scotland. His team said he needed rest. But rest wasn't what he found. What he found was silence, the kind that forces you to face yourself. One night in his Edinburgh apartment, he poured a glass of whiskey and rewatched the footage. The moment his lips formed those two words, the flicker of Caitriona's expression, the second her eyes dropped, the laughter that felt wrong, he closed the laptop halfway and pressed his palms over his face. He'd done what he had to, for her, for himself, for the circus around them, but it didn't feel right. A few days later, Caitriona posted on Instagram, a single rose on a piano, captioned, "Some truths are too painful to say out loud." Fans flooded the comments. "Is this about Sam? We know the pain in that picture." She didn't reply. She never did. But to those who understood, the message was clear. A week later, an Outlander crew member spoke anonymously. They didn't talk for a while after that. Not because they were angry, but because they both needed to breathe. It's hard to pretend nothing's changed when the whole world saw what you didn't mean to show. In the quiet weeks that followed, Sam retreated north to his family's old farmhouse near Loch Lond. Mornings he spent hiking through fog. Nights he spent writing, pouring onto paper the things he'd never say aloud. A friend who visited said, he seemed haunted but peaceful, like someone finally carrying his truth instead of hiding it. When asked later why he'd said it's impossible, Sam only murmured, "Because sometimes it is." He didn't elaborate. He didn't have to. Half a world away, Caitriona was filming an independent movie, her first since Outlander. In one interview, when a journalist cautiously brought up Sam's statement, she smiled gently. "People hear what they want to hear," she said. "We've shared a decade of friendship no headline can define. And that's enough for me." It was grace, quiet, poised, but her eyes said more. A month later, they crossed paths again at an Outlander tribute in Glasgow, their first public appearance since the conference. At first, the air was stiff, polite smiles and measured distance. But when they stepped on stage, the years melted away. During a fan Q&A, someone asked, "What's the hardest scene you ever filmed together?" Sam glanced at her and smiled wistfully. "The goodbye ones," he said. Caitriona met his gaze. They always were. The audience laughed and clapped, unaware that what they'd just witnessed wasn't acting. It was closure. Later that night, away from the cameras, she found him backstage. "Hey," she said softly. He turned. Relief flickered across his face. "Hey." They stood there for a long moment, the air thick with everything unsaid. "You didn't have to protect me like that," she whispered. "I wasn't protecting you," he said quietly. "I was protecting us." Her smile was bittersweet. It still hurt. "I know," he said. "It hurt me too." For a while, they just stood there, breathing the same silence. Then Caitriona reached out, brushed his arm lightly. "You'll always be my friend, Sam." He nodded. "Always." When she walked away, he didn't follow. Some stories aren't meant to continue, they're meant to be remembered. That night, Sam posted a photo of a calm Scottish horizon at dusk. The caption read, "Some endings are quieter than they deserve." The internet tried to decode it again, but this time, fans sensed something different, not sadness, but peace. For two people who'd spent years convincing the world that love wasn't real between them, maybe this was the truth at last. It was real. It just couldn't survive the world watching.